It's the lens, it's the lens, it's the lens, gotta live diverse. It's the lens, it's the lens, it's the lens, live diverse. You are listening to The Lens Living Diverse, a podcast brought to you by the CNIB advocacy team. Join Nisha and I as we talk to guests with intersecting identities along with sight loss as they share the unique stories. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Lens. I am one of your hosts, Ben, along with my co-host.
Hey, everyone, this is Nisha.
And today we're going to have an excellent episode, Nisha. I'm very excited for this episode. You want to know why?
Why are you excited?
I'm excited because we're in June. It's Pride Month. And actually today's episode, we're going to have two special guests that are going to take over today. We're going to relinquish the holds on the lens today.
Yes, we're going to have two amazing representatives of the LGBTQ community, TerriLynn and Lucie. We're going to have a dynamic and wonderful conversation about their experiences, and in honor of Pride Month, I think this would be a great episode for the community to listen to.
I agree. Okay, so Lucie and TerriLynn, we're going to hand it off to you. And yeah, I'm very excited to hear about your experiences.
Thank you so much, Ben. And we're recording during Lesbian Visibility Week. So this is fantastic. Between April 25th and May 1st. Hey, Lucie?
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. We've got to hit two birds, one stone. 1 week with recording, and then the week that we're releasing is about LGBTQ stuff. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, happy Pride. It's going to be happy Pride.
I'm like, we're going to start celebrating right now. And I'm going to just be so tired by the time it gets to June. They're just like, well, I guess it's done now.
So, Lucie, I was just a little curious about your coming out story.
Well, for me, I think it would be a multiples of coming out. So my name's Lucie. I go by she, her pronouns. I identify as queer. So I get queer, bisexual, I would say, would be my first guess on that one. Initially, when I came out, I was like, well, I am not straight. I just knew that I wasn't straight. And so I came out a few times but in different scenarios. So I was born in St. Lucia, so in the Caribbean. And it's not super open to the LGBTQ folks. However, I was quite lucky in the fact that I grew up in a pretty supportive household in general. So I didn't have as many of the barriers to possibly coming out as maybe some other folks might have had. And so the first time I came out was basically with my partner at the time. It was just kind of like, well, oh, by the way, this is my girlfriend, mom, at the time she was not super, I think her initial concern was about my safety, and which is very reasonable. At the time, I didn't see it that way. I was like, well, you don't want to share in my joy. I don't want this. I want you to just be happy for me. Eventually I did recognize that it was about where she was coming from in her,
because it's illegal in St. Lucia, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
the laws are still the same.
Exactly. You can definitely go to jail for being for being out in the out.
I think for lesbians it's a little different, right? It's still shunned upon, but it's not illegal, right? But
exactly.
For men you can go to jail.
For men, you definitely can go to jail. For women, it's a little bit more of a gray area. You can be shunned and you can be refused access to certain resources. So I do know if you are either open or if they suspect that you are not a straight person, then you are sometimes denied access to certain resources, like even jobs or anything like that. I know of folks who have not been able to get loans for cars or anything like that because of their how they identify. And they won't put that on the piece of paper that, hey, by the way, you're not getting this because you're not straight. But it is a matter, like, it is definitely understood, like, sort of like, hey, yeah, this person lost the job because someone found out that their partner was not a cis person from the other part of the community, like a hetero person.
So your
And
mom
so
had legitimate concerns.
exactly, yeah. Now as an adult, I'm like, I guess I wasn't super great about handling it. But then again, who is as a 16-year-old?
Exactly.
I can't imagine. I mean, I think we've kind of worked past it, so it's not like me and my mom are good now. But like at the time, I was like, I didn't speak to her for like a couple weeks after that. And that's very hard considering we lived in the same house and she drove me to school every day. So that was a bit of a tumultuous time in our relationship. But in general, like, I think when I moved to Canada, I feel like she started to realize, like, oh, well, yeah, there are options for my daughter. Like, she's not going to end up having to be fully isolated because of this. And so I think she became a little bit more able to accept it. And because, like, I think every parent, like, I'm not a parent, but like I do, like, every parent just like wants what's best for their kids. And sometimes that might not look like what they think is best for them. But now I think we've definitely moved past it. It's really good. It's nice and healthy. She's just mostly concerned, like, well, now you're done with school, why don't I have any grandkids? Or like, why I'm not in a relationship, I'm single now. And so she's just like, that's her primary concern at this point. So yeah, in terms of coming out, I would consider that relationship the most important one in terms of like how I identify, because as much as I was a Sunday school teacher as well, so like in most churches in St. Lucia, you can't obtain leadership roles as a woman in general. So that there is a little bit of just like general misogyny there, but it wasn't something. So there was a couple of layers of things, and so when I moved to Canada, it became a lot easier for us to like navigate that relationship. And then it never really came up again, because generally speaking, I feel like my parents are like, unless there's like a marriage proposal, they like, we don't need to know what you guys are doing. Like, we don't need, in terms of, are you doing well in school, then I guess that's fine. And that's even with my siblings. So it doesn't feel like I'm being called out or anything like that, because like I feel like with even with my siblings, they're like, we don't need to meet, like, we will meet them, we'll have dinner and stuff, but like, we're not in your relationship. Like, they and for them, even, they literally, like, my dad was like, I only met your mom's dad when I was basically sure that we were getting married. Like, he was like, I only met them like basically the day before the wedding night, and that was and that's kind of just how they navigated the world. So I was like, well, I guess this is fine that they're not super big part of my romantic relationships, but they are part of my life in general. So that's kind of my coming out story. I know that's not really anything because it's like multiple different times, but yeah, I'm pretty sure my parents were not suspicious, but like certain that I wasn't straight from quite a young age, by like 6 or 7, because I was just more comfortable. Like I presented more masculine, I would say, for a little bit as well. Like, I was like a tomboy. My sister's the same as well. Like, well, she was a tomboy, like, as growing up. Like, we were always hanging out in the mud and stuff and just being unnecessary, but it wasn't like a whole thing. Like, my sister's straight.
So they weren't surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't like a shocker. It was just like, oh, okay, well, yeah. And then, yeah, and so now I feel like I'm pretty comfortable saying that I'm like not straight, but I would not say that I'm open to most things, is what I should say. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I know with me, and I love how you took it back, because totally forgot about the whole, hi, my name is TerriLynn, and I'm an Afro-Indigenous person who self-identifies within the 2S LGBTQ community. I go by pronouns she, her, and I self-identify as a lesbian. And I came out, I guess, 20 years ago, and in my 30s. So I came out a little bit later, and it was different. I think growing up, for sure, there wasn't that option or opportunity. So whether I was just kind of curious growing up, or, I mean, I was definitely a tomboy, definitely liked playing out in the streets and more activity. I wasn't a doll kind of person. I didn't play with a lot of dolls. But I mean, I don't know if that makes you a lesbian, if you know what I mean.
It's like,
You
yeah,
know,
I
it's
don't
just
like dolls.
I don't like dolls. I'm not really, that's not for me. But you know, and for sure, experimenting as a young person, that you know, for sure was taboo kind of behavior growing up. Did I self-identify as a lesbian then? No. Again, just growing up in that environment, it's not like today where there's more of an option, and a little bit more freedom, and definitely a lot more knowledge around being 2S LGBTQ plus. So, but when I came out, it was when I was in university, and I was learning a lot in university about different power dynamics and sexuality and how everything is socially constructed. And it just, and I remember, I guess, my, first encounter experience with a woman, and it just changed everything for me. Everything just kind of fell into place. And I just knew. It was kind of like that episode in Grey's Anatomy, where in Grey's Anatomy, one of the characters, I guess, came out, and then as she was getting ready to leave, she had shared the story about how, I guess being with another woman was kind of like, prior to that, she was looking outside the window and there was just, green blobs, and she was just looking on the bus, looking outside the window and just seeing green blobs go by, knowing that they're, trees. And then it's like putting on glasses, and then all of a sudden she realized, oh, these are leaves with, drops of water on them. And that's what it was sort of like for me. It was just like all of a sudden everything became clear, and I didn't realize. So, I mean, prior to that, my relationships with men were completely fine. But when I, came out, it was just, and my family, funny enough, they weren't surprised at all, which I was shocked that they weren't surprised. I think because they knew I was in feminist studies. I think that they attributed to that. And plus they always think I'm opinionated. So they're like, you're opinionated. And I'm like, no, I just, it's social justice issues and we're talking about these things. But yeah, so I think that because I really had a strong belief in social justice issues, and as I was learning more within women's studies and just learning more about myself, I started to, again, like I said, learn more about social justice issues and power relationships, and it just made more sense to me. And my family were completely fine, and my mom did ask me, was there something that I did wrong? And then I said, no. I said, not at all. And I guess it's still sort of rooted in that kind of taboo. But then very quickly, she started to realize that this is just kind of it's a normal way of life. And I know that her close friend at the time, was also gay. And so I think they had a lot of conversations, and she was more at my mother's age. And so I think she helped my mom to understand as well that this was just, that she didn't do anything wrong. And I think the thing that really bothered me the most was I had some friends growing up, because I'm estranged from my father's side of the family. So my Black Afro-Indigenous side of the family, I'm Mohawk. And because we're estranged from that side, people would say, oh, you know, you're a lesbian because you didn't have your father's upbringing. And that really used to bother me a lot. And it still does bother me to think that, you know, my mom and my upbringing was enough for me. I didn't miss, you don't miss what you don't have. And then I do have to be honest, there was, you know, a few men as my mom was dating men that kind of went into that father figure role. So, I mean, one person in particular I'm thinking of who has been around for my whole entire life. I guess it just really bothered me that they attributed me being a lesbian to some kind of trauma or some kind of neglect, you know. But I guess outside of that, my coming out story isn't that exciting. I think I struggled a little bit more with the vision loss and trying to adapt in that space and trying to fight for equity in that area. And that was more of where my focus was as I was going to university, trying to make my way, financially being independent and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Like they always are like, well, it must be because your dad's not around, and so therefore this is why you're. But like I grew up with both my parents and maybe like a whole bunch of uncles and aunts and like a pretty strong sense of like my family identity and stuff, and I can tell you for a fact that did not make a difference as to how I identify sexually. I feel like that was something I was like, I'm still not straight, guys. Like this is, and I think that's kind of why it was easier for my dad to accept, because he was just like, well, I did it, I did the things, I was I was present, and so he was a lot more able to kind of like and then also I feel like my dad's maybe a little less self-involved than most moms are. Like I feel like moms are just like, but was it me? Like did I?
Yeah. I think it's a microaggression when they're trying to find out reasons why they've already identified that it's something wrong or something, like I said, like a taboo. That's why they're trying to figure out what was it exactly?
And then
Can
it's
we
all
fix this?
yes, exactly. It's more about trying to like, oh yeah, because this is a problem, right? And so now we need to find a solution. And it's like, well, maybe it's just different. Maybe that's enough. Like, shouldn't that just be the point in which we're starting from? If we're coming from a place where we think it's a problem, and obviously then we're going to try to find out where it started, the root cause of this problem. Meanwhile, if you're just coming from a place of like, hey, this is just like a different experience, or this is just one way of navigating a very, like, admittedly quite small part of your life, I feel like. Like in terms of like in the grand scheme of things, I find that a lot of my relationships, like my friendships and all of that stuff, like, not to say that romantic relationships aren't important, and definitely a lot of my social groups tend to be part of the queer community, but it's always very strange to me when people are like, well, this is a thing that we can like try to fix, right? Because it's like, well, not really, because it's like not even that big of a deal. Like it's actually so like in terms of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, I feel like it's such a small part of it, which is part of the reason I'm like, coming out is should like, I definitely understand the fear and the concern and the issues in coming out in certain environments if you don't feel like there, if you know that there's not safety and anything into like physically and emotionally, and you don't have the support coming from otherwise. But also I'm just like, well, I feel like it's not even that big of a deal. Like in terms of all the things that could be of more concern, yeah, my vision loss was definitely a bigger deal than
I was just going to ask you that. In terms of like acceptance and support from family, society, between sexual orientation and vision loss, what stood out for you as I believe you said were you a high partially sighted person when you came out?
Yeah. So like when I came out, I didn't have a diagnosis as yet.
Okay.
And so like I had come out when I was, I guess 16, 17. So like it was with my first like real relationship sort of thing. And that's when I was out. But I got my diagnosis, like my official diagnosis, when I turned 22. And so it was a little bit after that. In terms of, I felt like, okay, so initially when I got my vision loss diagnosis, it was actually a bit of a relief for me. In like, I literally, like, I've been unpacking this, like, it's like, why is it so, like, I feel like, in terms of all the things, like, I understand, like, people find it very difficult to start using a cane and all of that stuff. And for me, I was not in that position, because I was like, something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Couldn't identify what it was.
Exactly. Like I was.
How did your partners respond to? Because between 16 and 22, there was something happening, but both of you didn't know.
Exactly. So like with the relationship that I started at 16, so that went until I was 23, 23, about, yeah, how old am I now? What is time? So that relationship, that relationship broke down, not because of my vision loss or anything, but just because we were in like different places in our lives at the end of it. But like in terms of like the vision loss bit, it was just like, honestly, initially it was just like nice to have somebody who was like, oh yeah, I still care about you, I still love you, I still want this to be a thing. And I think the issue was mostly with me, because I was just like, I don't want to be this person who has to be taken care of for the rest of my life. And then for them, because they had had some experience with disability, like they lived in like foster care systems and stuff, and they had the experience of living and helping and supporting folks with disabilities as well. And so they were like, dude, this is literally like, I was born for this. Like this is what I do. And I was like, that's not what this was though. Like I always felt like I needed to keep the two separate. Like I was like, I don't want. It's like, oh, okay, so
this is part of who you are, but it's not all of who you are.
Exactly.
You're looking for your own independence and to be seen as a person as a whole. And yeah, I totally understand. When I came out, I was a high partially sighted person, like I said, in my 30s, and it was a different environment. And I met some people who, and it's funny because coming out wasn't a big deal to me. Like I said, it was just more coping with the vision loss and the assistive devices and getting access to accommodations, and even working through my own things around accommodations, because it's, when you're trying to work to get access to accommodations, and there's dollar amounts to it for school and for work, you're working through all those feelings of guilt or feeling like a burden, and you're still trying to better understand what human rights are. What do I have rights to, right? And you're learning all of that as a person with a disability, as you're acquiring one or as you're trying to integrate into the world. And then with partners, when I came out, I didn't, that was the least of my worries. I had more important things to worry about, like how am I going to financially become independent? How am I going to get through school? And those were more important things to me. And then as I was dating people, I didn't have too much of an issue that way. I was still going out to bars and clubs and dancing. And because I was a high partially sighted person, I was still able to be very independent. I just had to look at things more closely, or recognizing people at a closer distance. But when meeting some people would flat out tell me, oh, I couldn't date somebody with vision loss. And so I just automatically, I said, okay, well, thanks for the heads up. I still love myself, and I carry on.
Yeah, that definitely happens. Do you think that, because you said you were high partial, so like, were you like a cane user before that, or
you wouldn't know? Yeah, when I was a high partial, you wouldn't even know I had vision loss. And in fact, I'd have to sometimes convince people that I had vision loss. Like, no,
which is, oh my gosh, exhausting. Yeah. That sounds like the worst thing. I feel like that's also part of it, where you're just like, you're spending half of your day just trying to convince someone that which is part of the reason I feel like having a diagnosis was so helpful to me, because I was like, oh yeah, give me the cane, give me anything. Like, do you want the license? Take it, take it all. Let's do
And
this.
then other people can identify what's going on. I think the only way
Exactly.
people knew is if they started to hang around me more and more, then they could see, you know, that I obviously had issues, right? Or not issues, but I mean, I obviously had vision loss.
Yeah, but
So,
like you were just navigating in a different way. Like you were maybe a bit more hesitant and stuff, and with doing certain things, or just, and that's another thing. It was just like, because like before my diagnosis, I was living alone mostly. Like my partner had like they were in a different city, and so we're just seeing each other like on weekends and stuff. And so it was just like, oh yeah, I guess it's just not something that you would notice for a bit, right? So you're just kind of navigating the world. And so that bit was just like more.
when you say, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, go for it.
No, I was going to say, I'm sorry, because it popped immediately into my mind, being on Church Street, going downtown, and when I was visiting Church Street, it was very much that stereotypical kind of, you know, butch dyke femme kind of, you know, sporty girl stereotype, which I'm so happy that it's not like that now for people coming up. I know that there's other stereotypes that are happening that we have to fight against, or advocate against rather. But when I used to go to the bars, it would be, one, they didn't recognize that I had vision loss. And two, they'd look at me and they'd say, you know, they'd be hostile towards me. And so until I was, you know, if I frequented there enough, then they weren't as hostile, but people were hostile towards me, and they'd come up to me and say, are you gay or straight? You know, and it's just like, wow, okay.
Oh my days. And you see, oh, that is.
Yeah.
Like it's shocking, but also not shocking, because I'm just like, yeah, of course that's how it would be, because it would just be like a lot of the times, like even to this day, I mean, it's a lot different. Like if I am with a friend, or if I am with a partner, or if I'm on a date or something, often they would be like, oh yeah, this is my girlfriend. Oh, you mean, oh yeah, your friend, your girlfriend, okay, cool. And it just kind of like, it's like, no, this is like my romantic partner. So it feels like you have to set a lot of different kinds of boundaries, especially because if you're doing sighted guide or something like that, often people are like, well, it's just because they're blind. Okay, that's an answer enough for them. And
that's only safe when you're in an area where there's hate crimes and you feel dangerous, and being with your partner as a person with vision loss, then that's a positive, because you can be hand in hand, arm in arm, or hold hands, and they're automatically just going to think that you're, you need assistance. You
need help. Exactly. I feel like that was kind of the big benefits of being in St. Lucia and then having the actual diagnosis, was because I would just basically use that as a sort of like, oh wait, what do you mean? No, this
I'm hiding behind my cane for the first time.
Exactly, which is not something that I think you can really do in very many other communities, where you can use your cane as kind of like a bit of an armor. Yeah. And that's so right. But like for me, it was more difficult I hadn't because I was in a smaller town, like I was in a smaller town in Ontario. And so I wasn't really super, like I knew my queer friends, I knew my gay and lesbian friends, like I knew those people, but like I wasn't really exposed to like the wider community until maybe even now I would say that I still don't have as much, but that could be like, I feel like sometimes that might be as a result of, like I would say that would be more with the Blackness versus the vision loss piece, because I don't often feel like I am welcome in a lot of those LGBTQ spaces as a person of color. But then that's also sometimes I realize, like I was like, that might just be in my head, which doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that it is more like internalized stuff that I can unpack, and then it's fine.
I think you're right. I think it's internal, but it's also external. I wouldn't discount what you're feeling, or because I felt sort of that way in both. And then being in the 2S LGBT community in Toronto, you do have to find the pockets. Like there's, you know, when I came out, I was in, you know, the mainstream on church, but then I also came into the Black 2S LGBT community, and I can't remember that bar that people used to go to. And then they also had pop-ups. So it was a little bit harder for us, I feel, in my view, because we didn't always have the main spot. Oh, there was that place. I can't remember what it's called. There was one place on church that we used to go upstairs. It's going to come back to me. And we used to go there a lot. But when that place closed down, or it was like we had one or two places to go to, and there were a lot of pop-ups. And for me, I wasn't when I was in the community, I've been in and out of the community, I guess, different periods of my life. When I was dating this woman who was on a ball team for 5 years, I was in the community. We were always on Church Street, always doing fundraising. We were always in the lesbian community. So we were known, right? And then other times where I've been with partners where we're living our life outside of the community and occasionally visit, you know, but there is definitely a different places that you can go to be, because when I went to the Black 2S LGBT dances, I was just like, yeah, this is my music, people. And I just felt, you know, a different type of freedom, and just like, yeah, it was, I use the analogy of, oh, I was thirsty and I didn't even realize I needed that glass of water, you know?
Oh my
And
gosh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, I feel so at home now, you know? And then but it was pop-ups. So I felt like it's really too bad that it wasn't more, maybe more funding, or I don't know what it is, because it must have been, I'm presuming, like a financial thing, because I believe that there should be a community, right? Like I would hate to see Church Street gone, because I believe in for sure inclusion everywhere, and we should be able to go to gay friendly places everywhere. But I also believe that coming out for me, going to Church Street, being amongst people that I felt a freedom with, and I could, I don't know, it just meant something to me. And I love all my memories of meeting people and yes, partying and having fun, but it was really about feeling part of a community that I'm not sure, I guess, where people are getting that now, maybe social media, I'm not sure.
That's the thing, right? Like for me, I felt like, like there was a lot of like smaller bits on, or something like a pop-up, right? Where you feel like there is like one event maybe every couple months or something. And then with me, I felt like I was like, well, I guess it's just not a thing. And then I would meet somebody who would be like, yeah, dude, I don't know, like, you've been under a rock. I don't know how you don't know that there's this one random place that you can go to. And then they were like, oh yeah, well, it's only open on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean Wednesday? Like in the middle of the week?
Like,
they're like,
why
yeah,
Wednesday? I gotta get up for work in the morning.
exactly. I was like, Wednesday. They're like, yeah, because that's when they have the space, right? Like it's just like a matter of that kind of thing. And then those places have been really pretty great for me. But like honestly, I haven't really been out and about in the community for like at least the last 18 months, I would say.
Especially during the pandemic.
Right, exactly. Like you're just like, oh, I guess this isn't a thing. I guess I'll just be inside for a little bit here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, oh, I guess it's just not obviously not safe. And at first it wasn't safe, and then it was like, now it's like people are just like, I don't know if anyone's like, everyone just doing their own sort of thing, right? And I feel like often, like when you're in a relationship, it's a lot easier to kind of like navigate that kind of stuff, because then you're not doing it by yourself.
You have a buddy system, sighted guide, someone who's telling you, oh, there's so and so, and you can be social and free, and and then if you go by yourself, it's a different thing, especially when you've got a cane, because I think people aren't as open to come up to you when you've got a cane. When you have a disability, it's something different. And then for me, I found, now that I'm a little bit older, as I'm 26 now, I'm 26 years old now. No, but as I'm older, I'm not I mean, I go to church, I go to the patio and, you know, but I'm not going to those clubs anymore, or I might go with a friend for a little bit and then leave. I'm not hanging out there. So they don't, I need to start, I'm joining places where there's activity and programs. So I might do something with
Exactly.
sports, or I'm less doing that kind of clubbing thing. I'll leave that to the younger people. So I started doing, I was a captain of a dragon boat team, a few dragon boat teams, 2S LGBTQ. That was just a great way for me to
Dragon
stay-
boating.
Yeah.
Oh my days, TerriLynn. You've lived a very interesting life. I feel like this is news to me.
Oh
How
my
do you get into
God, it's
dragon
so
boating?
much fun. I have to tell you. So it's okay. So when we did the blind and partially sighted dragon boating, I joined that. I was already doing tandem cycling because I needed to stay in shape. I'm very much into sports, staying shape. But as you lose your vision, of course, you've got to constantly shift gears in terms of maintaining the sports and the physical activity, because I mean, when I was younger, I played basketball and volleyball and floor hockey and baseball, but of course, vision goes, you've got to shift. And I've been very fortunate that I kept doing that. As my vision started decreasing, I tried to find other ways to maintain activity and recreation. And so I was already doing the Trailblazers, and I was strongly encouraged to do that, loved it, but I thought, I'm just moving my legs. I'm like a river dancer here. I want to use my whole body, you know, and as people with vision loss, we don't have an opportunity to really be free in our movements because we're always afraid of, we have to be safe. And we also don't want to knock over wine glasses, which I did a lot of when I first lost my vision.
Get cups with lids, lids.
Yeah, until I guess that's a thing that we could do, wine glasses with lids. But then I started doing dragon boating for people with vision loss. And then as I got more confident with it, and in my paddle and my stroke and physically just getting to a physical fitness, that's when it's funny, our coach then said, I've always thought about starting up a 2S LGBTQ team. I said, I'm in, I'll help you, I'll do it. And so I did that for a few years. I did it within the blind community, the vision loss community. And then also I did it, within just the church downtown. So I was part of the Pride dragon boat team. That was a women's group. So I was a captain for that for 2 years.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen that before. And I was like, holy, so that's you. That's where you are. Your fitness level is above mine, above and beyond. I did 3 days of like Socacize like 2 weekends ago, and I'm still feeling it in my body.
That's good. Your body's saying, yeah.
It's no, but like also have I gone back? No, because I have limited. Like I'm like I feel like and that's also part of it where I was just like, well, maybe I should try harder, but also I'm like, but also why I just not if I just sit around. But dragon boating seems like really cool and interesting because I'm like, yeah, especially with vision loss, you don't often feel like you can be sort of free and like. Sometimes if you have mobility concerns and like you're not super certain of how to move in your body, that was luckily for me. I was involved in like some sports, not really very much team sports, but I did like tennis as a kid, and then I did swimming and some other stuff, and so that's kind of stuff that I've been able to keep up. And then like not recently, but like at the beginning of the times, like I started doing like a yoga class, and then like the Socacize class, which is just basically like a dance. It's basically like a dance class, and like I was like I think the trainer that I have, the instructor,
were they catering to your vision loss?
That's the beauty of it. Like the Socacize instructor, she like I met her, like she's from St. Lucia and everything, and so she was doing it with me like very soon after I started doing vision, like I started like joining into the vision loss community. And she also learns a bit, and she's like a dance instructor as well, and so she also learns a little bit more about how to like like basically articulate things in a way that made sense to at least me. And then there were other folks with vision loss, because she does a class with like the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association there
These
as
are
well.
great ways to stay connected to not only just to like sports and recreation and physical fitness, but also staying within our community. Because I know when I did the dragon boating and joined the sports and even the dancing, because I did belly dancing. And
oh my days, you are filled with surprises. I love it. I love all of this.
But it's other ways to stay within the non-disability community as well as the 2S LGBT Q community as well. Like you got to find ways to meet people, be in the community, navigate, because I think part of that whole thing is us as well. It starts from the inside. So I strongly feel that we have to kind of be able to figure out how to ask for what we need as people with vision loss and to verbalize it. And the only way we're able to ask for what we need is if we're in that community. So like even when I was a captain of the dragon boat team, my first year doing it, there were some things that, obstacles I came across as a person with vision loss, like even just going to get our times. Okay, these are what our times are. I had a partner that I met through dragon boating who was very accommodating. And it's so funny because part of that was me wanting to get back into the community because I was living in a, predominantly hetero community. And I thought, well, now it's time for me to get back on the horse, meet some people. And that was a great gateway for me to meet other people. So that's where I met my partner that I was with for 2.5 years. And she was fantastic. Like in the beginning, she knew that I had vision loss. Obviously, we were getting to know each other. But one day, it was so funny. I said to her, so we were walking towards the boat. I said, I printed out all of the instructions that I have to share with the team. And I said, and I didn't want to bring my iPhone, which is accessible for me, because I don't want, if we go overboard, I'm not losing $1,000.
That's your whole
iPhone.
phone.
It's not happening.
Why?
So I was sitting here thinking, how am I going to be a captain? And so, and then I said to her, I said, I printed it all out. I said, but would you be open to, if I point at something, so kind of using her like my iPhone, I said, if I point at this, can you tell
your
me?
own human screen reader?
Yeah. I said, just whisper in my ear, like, tell me lowly what it is. And she'd say, yeah, I can do that. And I said, really? And then she said, yeah. And this was before we started dating. And this is how it happened that we started to date afterwards, because she was helping me. I would print out my notes and I would just point, and she's so funny. She was very comical. So then I'd point and then she would tell me, and then I would tell everybody and go, and I'd go to the next line, and she started to just do that. And then at the end, she would say, because I was so process focused, making sure, as a captain would, making sure everybody's all in line. This is what we're doing. This, we've got all the checks box, I's dotted and T's crossed. And then she would whisper, have fun, tell the team to have fun. I'd be like, oh yeah.
oh yeah.
So we made a great team that way. And so it's just funny, I think, like how we kind of incorporate the whole thing. So I felt really lucky because that group of women on Dragon Pride were so accepting of me. And they were truly, truly wonderful to me as a person with vision loss, but they've seen all aspects of me. So yeah.
Oh my days, and it's well deserved. I mean, like, honestly, it just getting like the idea of getting onto a boat right now is, to me, like I can't see I can't imagine, because it seems like I was like, oh, you mean like but like that's on a boat, like you mean on the water, like with like you can fall
into water.
Yes, but like water, do you know it can be deep? Like I don't know.
You're so funny. So tell me, how are you, when you're thinking about getting back into the 2S LGBT community or dating, how do you, there's so many avenues now. There's social media, there's online dating, there's in person now that things are opening up. How do you?
Yeah, for me, I have been, I guess, I don't know if lucky or unlucky, where most of my partners in the past have just been like based on like other stuff that I was already kind of doing. So like I met my first partner like in school, and then after that I met somebody like while I was doing like what was I doing? Like I was doing like a writing class, like a writing workshop sort of thing, and that's how we met. And so it wasn't like I felt like I was like, oh, I don't know how to put an effort in.
That's the best way. It's like a meet cute.
Exactly, but like now I'm like, oh shoot, if I want to meet somebody, I have to make an effort. Like there isn't just like people aren't just gonna show up at your door or like show up at your writing.
You mean if I'm
workshop.
sitting at home eating popcorn and Netflix, I'm not going to meet anybody?
It was just like, oh, yeah, literally one of my friends was saying like, Lucie, you haven't done anything. How can you meet anybody and you're inside of your house? You're not doing it. Like, I'm like, yeah, but they should know that I'm here. Like, I'm here. No, am I not here? I'm quite clearly here. But like, I've done online dating, which has been, I think,
How
an
does that
experience.
go with vision loss?
It's an experience.
I have never done it. I think about it, but I think it's kind of like false advertising for me. I don't really know.
You see, that's the thing. Like, I always felt like I was like, oh, how do I feel like it shouldn't be the first thing. But then okay, so I have also had the experience of seeing somebody else with vision loss, I guess, and how they've navigated it. And then so honestly, what I did was like, in my first stay into it, like I was like, I'm gonna give this 6 weeks. I'm gonna give myself 6 weeks to do this. I'm gonna try to meet at least 3 people. And that's what I did. And then after the 6 weeks, I met 3 people. And then, I mean, it didn't work out great. I still keep in touch.
But you did it though.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. I kept in touch with like maybe one of the people that I started speaking to that way. And then it was just like, oh, okay, so I can do it. And then how I like did like the disclosure bit or like the acknowledging the vision loss thing. I just made sure that at least one of my pictures had
like a cane or something.
Yeah, a cane or something, but which is also not super understood in terms of most people are just like, oh, I didn't know what that was. I thought that was just like a prop. Yeah. I've literally had someone say, come to me and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was
that's
real.
why I'm doing the activity. Like I was thinking maybe I'll join a book club, or I'm into the activity because I don't know how to get across, how to.
By the way, I'm blind.
Yeah. I might be looking at you through this, Zoom meeting, but yeah.
As far as it goes, basically. Yeah. And I think also it's actually quite helpful because I feel like often, at least when I went on a few dates, because I went out on dates with like men, women, and like folks who identify just like on the spectrum of things. And so like I found it was just like very interesting to know how like the different interactions were very different. Like I found that with men it was just like, oh, so how can we fix basically how does it affect me personally? Like how is it going to make things different for me? And then for women it was more or less like, oh, okay, so yeah, that's a thing, I guess. I guess you won't be doing any of the driving, that's fine. I guess.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really difficult. Like it was just part of the I feel like everyone has trouble dating, especially online or like on the internet and stuff. So I've just come to the conclusion that I'm just going to have to hope that like just sitting at home, someone is going to meet me. Someone is going to just find me at my house somehow, some way. That's how that's going to have to work.
I don't think I can do the online. I'm still part of the Meetup emails, and I know that not everybody's doing that, but I get 3 different.
I can't imagine you can do dragon boating and you can't do or like.
Well, the meetups are good, but I did do them and I had some fun. They had different things. So, they do the hiking, the camping, the comedy clubs, all of those things. And when I had a vision mate, which was awesome. She was really amazing. So we already kind of outlined some of the things she could help me with in the beginning. And then I asked her if she'd be open to helping me get to some of the meetup groups. And she said she was totally fine with that. So I said, really all I need is if you could help me get there, I'll get the address, get there, and help me find the group. And then you can go. You don't have to stay. I just need a sighted guide to get there and find everybody. And then eventually I started doing where I'd connect with the organizer, ask them if they had a buddy system or if they could meet me someplace. And so I slowly started to, this is why I think that knowing yourself as a person with vision loss and what you need is really important. So then I started asking for more support, and then I felt more comfortable just kind of doing it on my own. But in the initial part of it, using a vision mate was really accessing a vision mate rather than using. But accessing a vision, yeah, I was just using her. I don't think she'd be so happy about that. I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate that we're still friends, and she's such a great person to me. Honestly, I really promote that Vision Mate program because you never know who you might meet. And it's such a great way to increase accessibility in your life. And, but yeah, I have such a beautiful friend out of that program. But, and she also raised my independence, and I was able to join some of those meetup groups, but I haven't done them recently since COVID, because I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this now? Do I go back to doing the meetup groups? Am I going to try to do it online? I just don't feel like online is for me, but I know that's when I'm thinking, okay, people are going to start calling me old fashioned or something, because I got to get up with the times and, do this social media stuff.
It's not old fashioned. It's just like, it's a wholly different beast. Like, I feel like anyone would be like, this is very different. Like, it's a bit like, it's not even very much. I don't even know if it would be considered old fashioned. Just like, it's quite strange. It's quite wild. It's like a weird video game. Like, even while I was doing it, I was like, this is quite exhausting because you're just like, oh, okay. But I think.
And are those platforms even accessible?
Well, the ones that are like, at least I know Tinder is pretty accessible.
But that's if you've got vision, because you still got to look and swipe.
But like you can kind of do okay, so now how it works is that you can add like okay, so how I've used it in the past basically was like you can literally set it up so that Siri will send the image, like one of the images. You can choose one of the images, like you can choose it, because I use an iPhone, so I guess it might be different on the other devices. But you can choose a picture and you can send it to somebody and be like, "Is this person attractive?" But most people have like pretty.
Or no, in our community we just call up Ira. Or view my eyes and say, hey, tell me what this person looks like. Are they attractive?
Are they? Yeah, but like most people have like pretty decent profiles, like actual setups and stuff, and you're like, oh, is that funny? Okay, fine. Okay, let's just see how this goes. Yeah. But also I think that the best thing that I did was to just set a time limit on it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this for 6 weeks, and then after that, I'm out. I'm gonna slowly walk away from this after the 6 weeks.
But it's good that you did that, because 6 weeks is a good time. Because I'm always like, I'm in employment services, so I always say to people, it's 3 strikes and then you're out. You can't go once and then say it's not for me, because the first time you're really uncomfortable, you're awkward, you're just like, oh my God, how do I navigate this place? Like, and I'm, and if you're not, we all have kind of, when you're meeting new people, right? And then the second time, and then the second time you're just like, okay, now that I know how to navigate the space as a person with vision loss, I'm still kind of bumbling around, but now I've also got that social kind of interaction thing on top of it. A lot of people have difficulty going into a room cold and then trying to make friends, whether that be at a bar or at a cocktail party or at a job fair, or all those social places, right?
Yeah,
but with vision loss,
you try to put yourself.
Yeah,
you try to put yourself out there, like, oh, this is weird and uncomfortable.
That's right. Who am I going to talk to? Is that even a person, or is that like a pillar?
Exactly. Literally, me walking into a place and then walking back out, but then like walking basically directly into the window as opposed to like the door that I thought, which was a sliding door.
Cool.
which is just like that. And then I was like, well, that's something. And that's actually the only person I still talk to now, because they were just like, that was actually hilarious. You literally just walked right into that door. I was like, I know. But then I feel like that's part of it. We're just like being able to be a little bit embarrassed. And you're like, oh my days, this is disturbing. I need a drink.
And to be able to laugh at yourself or to get to pull it off, I think is another thing too. Because you got to go through the embarrassment and then turn around and then
be like,
hi,
that
everybody.
definitely happened.
The whole world is a catwalk and I'm on it.
This is for the lols. Like, just once that doesn't end up on like a viral TikTok video, I think we're okay.
When I think about what I'd want to say to people with vision loss from our community in terms of resources or, you know, moving forward, I think of, I would definitely, because we've talked a little bit about different intersecting identities, to try to really connect with, feed those different kind of identities. So if it's, you know, being within the racialized community, in the Black community or the Hispanic community, you know, just doing that. If it's about being in the 2S LGBT community or being in the vision loss community, trying to really find what that activity is, or that would be my thing. Like for me, it was sports, and as my vision was decreasing, really trying to find ways that I could maintain my physical activity and be a part of the 2S LGBT community. So I kind of put those things together. I love cycling, I love dragon boating, I love running. So how can I do this within the 2S LGBT community so I can meet people more organically and be sort of in the community so I'm not kind of lost?
Yes, for sure. Like, I can see how that would be the case. Like, for me, I would just say, like, it's okay to do stuff, like, ironically. Like I feel like there's so many things that I've done, and I was like, this is dumb. I don't actually care about any of the things that I'm about to do, but I am still gonna do it. And just being able to, like, be like, yeah, it might not be specifically something that you're super interested in. Like, I definitely did, like a pottery class that I had no interest in, and I'm still not sure what I made. It wasn't really very good.
Now I want to see this thing that you made. Did you keep it?
It's not. It's so terrible. Like, I think
it's a paperweight. I want to see it.
It's not good, and I accept it. I was like, and like when I gave it to one of my friends, and she was just like, "Is this a choice? Like, you make this isn't like you did, like, was this a mistake?" She's like, "Was this what were you trying to make?"
And
I was like, "I don't know.
Is this a mistake?" But you're open to trying different things. That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, just try it, do it, even if you're not sure as to how it's going to go. And then always just give yourself a bit of space to, like, figure it out. Even if you have to set, like, hard boundaries, like, I'm gonna try this 3 times. I like this 3 times rule, 3 strikes and then you're out sort of rule, where you're just kind of gonna try it.
I think sort of kind of like in closing, I feel like all of us as human beings have to kind of put ourselves out there in those safe, kind of calculated ways. So, you know, you're building your confidence. But for sure, as people with vision loss, I feel like we do have to overcome a little bit more obstacles and think and maybe plan a little bit more, but it's so worth it. And you don't really know what kind of who you might meet and what kind of miracles are out there. I call them miracles only because it's those unexpected, beautiful things that you didn't really think you needed. And so they come out in people. And when you meet different people, you're just like, oh my God. And even if they're not a partner, they could be a friend that you have for life.
Exactly.
And that's so beautiful and amazing. And just to be out in the community, it's so much better to be making those connections, and it's worth it to put yourself out there in a safe way, in a small, integrated, safe way for you, I think.
I like it. I definitely 100% agree. Always just, like, it's okay if you made a bad paperweight. I'm honestly feeling like I should share a picture of this paperweight.
I want to see it. That should be the picture for this episode.
Where it's just like, oh, make yourself a bad paperweight. I mean, you might not have anything to show for it except a good story. I mean, I definitely think that it's always a good idea to like give yourself some space, even if you like I need to take some time off from doing it, but giving yourself the ability to just try new things. It's always I like the idea of it being little miracles where you're like, yeah, you're just trying it out even for a little bit will be always good. It's been such a great time. I'm so happy that we're celebrating Lesbian Visibility Week, and then also we're getting to celebrate Pride Month in a couple weeks there. And it's been such a pleasure speaking with you, TerriLynn. Like, you are an absolute rock star. I really do enjoy it. I was like, oh yeah, look at this. I was like, wait, now you do dragon boating, now you do all of this other stuff. Now you also like an amazing person, and it's just been such a great time talking with you.
Oh, I can't wait until we do it again, Lucie. You were so fantastic to speak with too, and it was really nice to get to know you and learn about all the things that you're doing and into. And we got to do this again.
Yeah, let's just take over this podcast. This is not our podcast. Bye, Nisha. Bye.
Bye, Ben. Bye, Nisha.
And then, yeah, if you guys wanted to know a bit more about some resources, I'm pretty sure, Nisha, we're going to give them some extra work to do tonight as well. So put those in the show notes for you. And it's been a great time. Yeah, guys, have yourself a great Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone.